Israel's response to Hamas's terrorist attack has prompted criticism and protest. But is it breaking the rules of war?
Article 51 of the United Nations Charter specifies that states have the right of self-defense. They are allowed to defend themselves from armed attack. What lawyers have agreed over time since is that a state can use force as long as it is necessary to do so. In other words, if you have to use force to address a threat or the reality of an armed attack, and as long as your force is proportional to the threat that you face. So for instance, if you had a state attack you on a low level, you wouldn't be allowed to use nuclear weapons to simply flatten the state in response. That would be disproportionate. Israel has for many years kept the Gaza Strip under a state of blockade. And in recent days, Israeli ministers put the Strip under a complete siege, stopping all food, electricity, water, fuel. And what lawyers say to me is that while a blockade can be legal, that there is a prohibition in international law on starving civilians. And many of them say that the tightening of the Israeli blockade into a full siege could potentially violate that prohibition and make this a potential war crime.
On October 18th, during a visit to Israel by President Joe Biden, Israel did say it would allow food, water and medicine to enter Gaza from the southern crossing in Egypt.
International humanitarian law that governs how armies target things on the battlefield is really clear. It says that armies can never, under any circumstances, deliberately target civilians or civilian objects. But there are some lawyers who are concerned that Israel's definition of what counts as a military object has stretched that idea to breaking point. For instance, some say that Israel considers that if a building was once used by Hamas, and even if Hamas leaves, that the building might still count as a military object that can be legitimately targeted in an airstrike. There are some observers who say that Israel's attacks in Gaza, whilst highly destructive, aren't necessarily more destructive than other urban wars we've seen in the past, whether that's America in Fallujah or the Iraqi army in Mosul attacking Islamic State a few years ago. So these legal debates are really intense, and I think it's safe to say that they're really contested.